In this showcase and review, we take a look at SHFiguarts Billy Kid from gacha game Zenless Zone Zero. Whether you know what that is or not, you can't deny this is one cool looking dude. As cool as he is, the figure is not perfect unfortunately, and might actually be hard to get and or pricey depending on where you are. That is because he is Premium Bandai and kind of exclusive, everywhere except China. To be honest, I probably overpaid for him. But anyway, let's see what he's all about and whether he's worth it. Out of the box there are 2 trays. The bottom one has some stand stuff, and the top tray has the main figure and other accessories. Here are the instructions, and let's get him out of the tray.
Yo, 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 good morning, ladies!
Here is Billy Kid, and I gotta say, he looks pretty good. Not every day that we get SHF that have this amount of paintwork and detail on them, so let's get into the details. Starting off with the head, hair sculpting and everything look very nice. Although I gotta say there isn't any shading, which is standard for SHF and even Figma, I would say. There's usually not too much shading around, but because of all the details around Billy, it doesn't really matter too much because it still looks good. And so we've got some decals on the sleeves, we've got Kid there. And then chest area looking very, very impressive. Everything is very nicely done. Back shots, well, from the back looking very nice as well. So there is that massive, I guess it's painted on at the back there. And yeah, I guess for the jacket, once again, you know, no shading, but with all the paintwork and details and stuff, you can't really notice it. So everything looks very nicely put together. There is a floating belt piece with a, this is just plastic, I believe, a plastic chain there, but it works, looks good. Booty, pants and everything looks very nicely done as well. And also notice as well, it's kind of an insane detail. You can kind of see his spine there, I guess, you know, because he's kind of a robot dude. Although you can't take the jacket off, and honestly he doesn't really bend that much to be able to see it properly, but the effort is very much appreciated. So even the shoes, they look very nice as well. And even at the bottom, there's like a little horseshoe heel thing. Everything looks very, very nice. However, I gotta say, even though the paintwork and details and everything are very nice, I would say that makes sense because outside of China, everywhere else he is Premium Bandai, so he is probably harder to come across and get your hands on, and probably inflated as well. So I would say the quality and the effort does make sense. I also gotta mention that I guess it's the way that the character is designed or sculpted. It happens with a lot of action figures as well. They can't really do a neutral pose properly, as in his arms don't really go down like to the sides naturally like that. And even so, even if they did, it wouldn't really look normal, I guess. So they kind of flare out a little bit. So usually what they look like is if he's just out of the box, he kind of looks like that, which is a bit strange. What I found to help was that you can rotate the biceps in a little bit. The only downside would be that the Kid is misaligned. So you can kind of rotate it in a little bit, bend his forearms, elbows a little bit. And it looks a little bit more natural, in my opinion. But, you know, if he's doing action poses and stuff like that, then it doesn't really matter too much. And I think it's also another common issue is that this leg here, so his right leg, it does seem to be a little bit crooked, although honestly speaking, I don't notice it too much. It's only when you really stare and he's actually just A-posing that you can kind of notice it. But otherwise, overall, very impressed with Billy so far. What do you think? For articulation, head turns. His hair is quite spiky, so be careful of that. So turns very well. Nods down like that. Looks up, not really a lot because the collar is actually a very hard plastic. So his jacket is Yeah, it's a very hard plastic. I wouldn't say it's soft at all. So it doesn't really look up, unfortunately. Although, bottom of the neck, very squeaky. There is articulation there, and then articulation at the top as well. So you can tilt. It's pretty good. Yeah, so joints, I find it's a very common thing with SHF stuff. They can be a little bit squeaky, so just be mindful of that. Arms rotate up, a little bit squeaky, once again, just be careful of that. And I do believe he has butterflies. So he has like a pull-out butterfly, which is good. So that's what that looks like. I think it works well because he is he does dual wield guns. So he can do like all your shooty poses. Full forward reach and backwards. Raising up to the sides, straight up. I'm just being careful not to force anything. So something like that. Although, one more thing I would like to add is that even though the details are very nice, I'm hoping they are, you know, they stay on, they don't get rubbed off if you handle them too much. So just be careful where you grab. Try to avoid grabbing like these areas where he's got paintwork. So try to grab the neutral areas if you can, would be my suggestion. Although in saying that, they might be really sturdy, you know, it might stay on really well. But that's just another thing that I kind of have in mind when moving him about. Maybe because he's Premium Bandai and a little bit pricey. So double elbows, look good. And wrist stuff, so fairly standard, rotates. And up-down is pretty good as well, which is nice. Torso, not really expecting too much to be honest. So upper torso tilts. And then, let's see, how do we do the forward bend? Forward bend. Hello? Okay, so forward bend, kind of like that. So it doesn't really bend forwards too much. So if you can see the gray area revealing, that's kind of all we have. Going backwards like that, backwards and forwards. So not too crazy there. Rotation is not bad. So once again, just be careful you're grabbing, rotates like that, and then tilts. So of course you can couple it up with the hip as well. So the hip backwards and forwards like so. So full bend, something like that, backwards like that. So it's not crazy, but it's also not too bad, I think. Tilts, and then you can also rotate down at the hip. I think he would have benefited with like an ab cut as well, because with all the details and stuff going on there, you're not going to really notice the cut if there was one, but whatever. Let's see, so the belt is a floating piece, so nothing too crazy there. Legs, they do split to the sides like so, and then forward kick. Backwards, just gonna be careful there. Okay, so forwards and backwards, not too bad. So, I guess kicking, you can kind of do a kick like that. Thigh rotation, so fairly standard stuff. And then double knees, which they work well. So double knees, just like that. And then what do we have? So feet, very, very squeaky. So some heat, some shock oil might be helpful there. And I believe, yeah, these are two separate pieces. But otherwise rotates, goes down, goes up, and then depending on the joint, of course, you can't really pivot it, I think. And then, of course, there is the toe. So range, nothing too crazy, but I don't think it's too bad. This is his stand stuff, super exciting. So Billy Kid on the stand there, and then you just pop these things out using this thing. Plug that in there, so this thing will pop out. Claw arm onto this, and then claw plugs into the top. Together it looks like this. 4 faces, he's got 4 total. By default, he's just got neutral expression. The eyes are even, and he's just kind of looking straight. To swap him out, you remove the see-through part at the front. And that is what that looks like, a little bit easier to see the face. And then you can just pull off the faceplate. That's what it looks like inside. And then you just plug the other face back on. This is a more angry expression, more squinty-eyed. A little comparison there. With the visor thing, that is what that looks like. Next up we have a huh or what in the world type face. So one eye is a little bit more squinty than the other one. Finally we have a cutesy blushy type face. Even though Billy doesn't really have normal faces per se, I think this one works well to make him a little bit more expressive. For hands, Billy has 4 pairs total. By default he's got fisty hands. He's got relaxed open hands, which are nicely detailed. Karate chopping type hands. And of course he has trigger finger hands for his pair of guns. His guns are nicely detailed, I would say. There is some paintwork and detailing on them. They don't move or anything though. For height, Billy is actually really tall. 6 3/4 of an inch or 17 centimeters. Overall, SHF Billy is a super cool figure and definitely worth considering if you like the character or Zenless. But of course that is assuming you can find him for a decent price. For retail he's meant to be about 10,000 yen or around 60 US. And I got him for around 100. But whatever, not mad though. Still really like the figure. Hopefully we get more cool gacha girlies and guys in future. Hopefully as a regular release. Well, we are getting SHF Soldier-0 Anby later on, so keep an eye out for that one as well. If you want to grab some figures, do consider my affiliate links down below. Always appreciate that. And do let me know your thoughts on Billy down in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you again next time.